Sure. There we are. Okay. Well, hey, thank you, everyone. It's good to see y'all. I'm going to start sharing my screen. I just have like maybe 15 minutes to um, to share with you, and then if you have any questions or comments or anything, just let me know. But yeah, I'm here to talk about my involvement with our local pride organization, Delaware, Ohio Pride. Um, I'm especially grateful to be speaking today um, when the Florida legislature passed its Don't Say Gay bill. And we have some school boards here locally that might be following suit. Anyway, it's clear that we still have a lot of work to do. But before I start on that, let me tell you a little bit about Delaware County, Ohio. Um, we're 30 miles north of Columbus. The city of Delaware is the county seat. The county population is over 214,000 now. It's the fastest growing county in Ohio. Um, it is the home of Ohio Wesleyan University and the Methodist Theological Seminary in Ohio, which was founded in the late 1950s by liberal theologians who were focused on civil rights and social justice. And they've continued that focus today. But basically, Delaware is a bedroom community for Columbus, but um, we do have a lot going on here. We have a vibrant downtown, and it is a very nice place to live. Politically, though, Delaware County is known for how conservative it is. The city of Delaware is more liberal than the rest of the county, but still three-quarters of the city council members are Republicans. Um, Countywide and our uh, representation at the state level and in Congress, 100% Republican. We do have one Democratic senator, Sherrod Brown, but other than that, our representation in Delaware County state, at the state level, at the federal level, at the county level is all conservative. Um, so that's the environment that we're working in. Now, let's see, it was the summer of 2019 when things came to a bit of a head here in Delaware. Uh, we have a really good library system here, and the libraries have community rooms that are available for nonprofit groups or cultural educational groups to use whenever the library is not using those rooms. At this point, a number of local teens decided they wanted to learn more about drag. Um, uh, so a group put together a program about the history and the art form of drag. It was to be hosted by Selena West, who is Columbus based but nationally known drag queen. But when word got out, there was a lot of flack. The library started fielding calls and emails from not only local residents who were opposed to having such a program at the local library, but statewide and nationally, people were just inundating the library system. It wasn't a program that the library put together or anything, but it was at the library and people didn't like that. And so some of the calls, and they were getting a little worrisome. People were saying, how do you know those kids who attend the program, how do you know they're going to be safe? Uh, the staff members who worked at the library felt intimidated and worried for their safety. So reluctantly, the director of our library system canceled the program. But luckily, a local comic book store owner saved the day. And she said, well, if they can't have it at the library, they can have it at my shop. She closed her storefront for an afternoon and cleared away her comic book displays. And they had the Drag 101 workshop right there in downtown Delaware. Well, word got out and hundreds of supporters came out to make sure that the participants of the program knew that they had a lot of support in the community, and they were it was really a very party atmosphere. Some drag queens from Columbus who weren't involved in the workshop came and walked amidst the crowd. Down in the lower left there, that's my husband Tony, with one of our favorite drag queens now. Her name is Platty Patty, and it was just an incredible afternoon. And it was there as we were sitting on the sidewalk with our supportive signs, we were approached by a young man, Spencer Webb, who remembered us when we were active in another local organization 15 or 20 years ago. That organization was the Delaware Gay Straight Christian Alliance. And that organization folded up about 10 years ago. But he remembered us from then, and he said, you know, it's time Delaware had its own gay straight alliance. What do you think? And we said, yes, that would be wonderful. And he said, I'll call you. And he did. And he called a few other people. And that's when Delaware Ohio Pride was born. This is our current board. Spencer and Lee Webb are at the top. They're our co-chairs. And there are 7 others of us currently on the board. Our purpose is just to support the LGBTQ plus community here in Delaware County. Our charter allows us to have up to 12 board members. We're currently onboarding 2 more, and hopefully we'll get that 12th position filled soon, because we are all doing a lot of legwork to get the work done. So our first event was a drag show and a pub crawl in downtown Delaware. And that was in June of 2019. That was very shortly after the Drag 101 controversy. And again, that was a very successful event. The sidewalks in Delaware were just filled with people. A lot of places you just couldn't find a seat to have a beer or anything. I mean, it was very popular, and it was a direct result of that whole libraries thing. As you can see from the shirt that one of the drag queens is wearing, libraries are for everyone, and so are all public accommodations, really. But anyway, so since then we've had more than a half a dozen drag show fundraisers, and we make like between $600 and $800 per fundraiser that we do with the drag shows. And the restaurants and bars that we hold them in are, they like them too, because people who attend these events spend money. They make a lot of, the restaurants make a lot of money when we hold an event at their location. We have a drag brunch scheduled for Saturday morning. Those tickets sold out within 3 hours. It's incredible the amount of support and enthusiasm we have for these in Delaware. We also hold panel discussions and presentations. For the last couple of years, mostly they've been online, but just before COVID struck, we offered a 3-part diversity workshop at the local senior center. And that included a panel of LGBT folks who told their stories. And it was really pretty powerful. And we hope to do more in-person things now that COVID is waning. We also have a program where we designate local businesses as LGBTQ plus safe spaces. If a business is interested in getting that designation, we conduct an interview with the owner. And, you know, what would you do in this situation? What do you do in that situation? Currently, more than 24 local businesses are on our safe spaces list, and more coming. Once they are approved, they get this window decal. So people in the LGBTQ plus community know that going to that location is a safe space for them. Last June 2021, we were absolutely delighted when Delaware City Council proclaimed June as Pride Month here in the city of Delaware. They permitted us to fly the pride flags downtown during the month. And this was huge, especially for people who grew up here. Um, we heard, I never thought I'd see the day, quite a bit last June. It was a very powerful representation that Delaware is changing. We also had our first Pride Festival last June. And actually, we weren't going to do it because I don't know if you remember this time last year, nobody really knew how COVID was going to be in the summer. And we actually decided in early March, well, we're not going to attempt to do a Pride Festival this year. But a couple weeks later, we were approached by another local organization called the Unity Community Center. And they said, we would like to have a Pride Festival in Delaware this year. What do you think? And we said, oh, here's an organization that has tons of experience throwing large events, very successful events, and they want to help us out. And so we said, sure, it was fabulous. It was, first of all, it was an incredible day in June, and so many people came out, and it was just a lot of fun. And we received very little blowback. So after that experience this year, we're planning the festival on our own. So if you're anywhere near Delaware, Ohio on June 4th, come on by. We also do lots of other kinds of things. In November, we have a service for the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and that's to remember and honor transgender murder victims throughout the US from the past year. We hold a service at a local church, and last year we also had a candlelight vigil walk through downtown Delaware afterwards. And last year we also had a float in the Christmas parade. And besides those kinds of things, we advocate for change. We feel like that's what a Pride organization should do in a community like ours. So maybe 6 weeks ago in January, we found out that one of our very supportive members of the board of directors at the local library, he had applied to get reappointed to the library board and was denied. And instead he was replaced by someone who was a very vocal opponent of the whole Drag 101 event. And so naturally we were upset about this. And if you look at the qualifications between the two, our guy had tons of experience and a lot of useful background for this position, and she had none. And so we wanted to speak up about it. And so I used my media relations background, and I contacted the Columbus Dispatch, and we got some coverage out of it. And so there wasn't really anything we could do about it, but we just wanted to know that we're paying attention. And we're starting to attend library board meetings as well, just to let them know that we're here and we're looking at what they're doing. Some other things that we've done, a local hair salon asked us to do a presentation to help them better serve their transgender clients. Next week, we'll be attending a local school board meeting, not Delaware City Schools, but one of the county districts. Last month, a couple of the new board members made disparaging comments about their LGBTQ students and faculty and staff who are supporting them. And we're a little bit worried that it might become a don't say gay situation in that district. So we'll be attending that school board meeting and getting local residents, supportive local residents to speak up. Our local senior center just contacted us and asked us to do a presentation for their in-home care services staff. And we offer all sorts of programs for local organizations, businesses, and churches. And also, we are just beginning to work with the statewide organization, Equality Ohio, to pass a local non-discrimination ordinance. Um, in Ohio, there are no statewide protections for LGBTQ plus people in regards to employment or housing or public accommodations. So Equality Ohio is working with local organizations to get local ordinances passed. And so far, there are 34 cities plus Cuyahoga County, which is the home to Cleveland, that have these local non-discrimination ordinances. And we're starting to work with the organization to get that done in Ohio. So that, in a nutshell, is some of what I've been doing with my time in retirement. You know, I often feel like I haven't been doing a whole lot. I'm not running a bed and breakfast. I'm not running a Christmas tree farm or a beekeeping operation. I'm not creating amazing art or photography or anything like that. But I really appreciate that Robert asked me to do this, because in just putting this together, I realized, you know, we are doing a lot. And we are not keeping silent about something that's important to us, and that keeps up hope for a better future, I think. So I'll stop sharing my screen here and see if anybody has any questions or comments or anything.
I don't have a question, Martha, but thank you so much. You're doing a great job. That's amazing.
Amen.
Amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot.
So Martha, this is Dave. I'm intrigued by your heading for the city council meeting next week or 2 weeks or whatever you said it was. Sorry, not city council, but school board meeting. Around the country, those are just, you know, hotbeds of trouble. What do you expect?
Well, this school district has a policy where if you're not a resident of the district, you cannot comment during their public comment. So we do know of supportive people in the district, but the ones we know have students, they have kids in school, and they're a little bit nervous about speaking up publicly. So we're just going to be there in our rainbow gear in the audience and sit through a boring school board meeting, we hope. And if they do start talking about limiting speech, limiting pronouns, limiting faculty and staff supporting their students, then we can get GLSEN involved. It's a, I don't know what GLSEN stands for right now, but they're a national advocacy group focused on schools. So a local representative of, from Columbus is going to be at that meeting as well from GLSEN. And so we might get them to hop into gear if things go sour.
So Martha, what was your strategy of going to the bigger Columbus newspaper instead of the local Delaware newspaper?
I actually approached the Delaware Gazette first, and they had covered in the library board meeting where Michael Butler had to step down. It was his last meeting. And so I sent them a message saying, hey, do you realize who they replaced Michael with? And if, this is the person. I gave all sorts of background. And it would be interesting to know if the county commissioners knew all that, and maybe this is the reason they used her to replace Michael Butler. And I ended it with, hey, listen, I know this is not the kind of story the Delaware Gazette usually does, and I understand that. I just want you to know that if I don't hear back from you, I'll approach the Columbus Dispatch about. And so I did. I just wrote an email to the Metro editor, and a few days later, we had our granddaughter over, our little 2-year-old granddaughter, and the phone rang, and it was dispatch reporter. So I was like, yes, I can still do it. Media relations at work.
Plus, you got a lot more publicity with the bigger paper.
Yeah, yeah.
My question was going to be, when did you move to Delaware? Because I thought you lived in Ohio, but you answered that.
Oh, yeah, we get a lot of that. People will contact us asking, obviously they think we're in Delaware, the state, instead of Delaware, Ohio. It's a little frustrating. And our logo, I don't know if you noticed our logo, that's the outline of the county. But if you're not from Delaware County, you really don't know what the borders of the county look like. A friend of mine said, why do you have Iowa as your logo for Pride? It's like, it's not Iowa, that's Delaware County. But, oh, well.
Martha, thanks for mentioning what's happening down here in Florida. Apparently, the governor is going to sign that bill. I want you to know that we don't participate at all in this culture war that's going on in Florida. I'm certain that it will be tested in the courts. By the time it reaches the federal level, it will be thrown out. But I can't say enough negative things about the leadership, particularly the governor that's down here right now. But keep doing what you're doing. Politics is local, and you're doing a really great job there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks a lot.
Hang in there, Ashley.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we have another discussion to do tonight, right, Robert?
Right. I was just going to ask you what your time commitment is like with that. Is it varied?
Yeah, it does vary. Right now, I'm leading the Education and Outreach Committee, and I'm involved in some events and doing a lot of legwork for the Pride Festival coming up. And I'm trying to keep up with our website as well. Fortunately, one of our new board members will probably taking over the website and all of the social media that we do. So my time commitment ranges from maybe 6 or 7 hours a week down to maybe just 1 or 2 hours a week, depending on what's going on.
And what's Tony's role?
He's a board member, and he is our mainly our contact with the churches, the church organizations. He does a lot of outreach on. He has a whole presentation on what the Bible really says about homosexuality, taking apart the clobber verses, and so he stays busy with that.
Well, you're doing great work.
Well, thank you. And thanks for asking me. I really appreciate it, Robert.
I wish I could have more positive things to report about what's happening in Iowa. Our governor just signed a bill that transgender girls cannot compete in girls' sports. And it's just really sad to see this. There's been absolutely no problems. They're not addressing a problem. And I don't understand what it is nationally they're hoping to get done by doing this to people.
Well, it's one of those hot point issues that gets people riled up. That's in 2004, there was all across the country, state by state, there were marriage issues on the ballot. And it was, and in Ohio, that marriage issue passed. We're saying marriage in Ohio is between a man and a woman. That's it. And that was a national effort to get conservatives to the polls to vote for George Bush. And it worked. So I think every few years there's a different hot point issue that is created. And I'm not saying that there isn't a concern there. I mean, I can understand why people are confused and upset about it, but let's let the athletic organizations take care of it. And set their own policy. Why does it have to be a political issue? So that's, anyway.
Yeah, Martha, I think I've shared with you that my older son is a teacher and deals a lot with students experiencing those issues, and it really puts them in a hot position if they're supposed to be reporting kids, you know?
Yeah, I guess fortunately that was dropped from the Florida bill, that teachers don't have to out students to their parents. But it is going to have a chilling effect. Just the fact that they've built in the fact that parents can sue school districts if they suspect something is gone wrong. If you think you're going to be sued by every, any person who has a bug up their butt, then you're not going to you're going to make sure that you don't do anything that would cause them to do that. So it's worrisome. It is worrisome.
It appeals to about 20 to 25% of the population here, but it's a hot button issue that allows politicians to take your attention away from the real things they ought to be dealing with. So that they have all these cultural wars that they fight, and things like COVID and wars and deficits and health and all that just goes away when you have all these kinds of issues.
Precisely. Yeah.
Well, thanks again, Martha.
Sure. Thank you.